everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Debbie Javier. Before I'm going to share with you some tips on how to prepare for the oral defense, please, if you are new in this channel, click the subscribe button and the bell button for you to be notified every time I have a new video or a new tips to share. Okay? So in this video, I will be discussing or sharing some of the tips on how to prepare for the oral defense. This is a request. Okay, for those who will be having their oral defense this December. So they asked me to give some tips or share some tips on how to prepare for the oral defense. So you can already watch this one once you're done with chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So at this point, you are already ready to go with your oral defense. Okay? So tip number 1, make sure that you know your paper. Of course, it's very, very important that you've read the content of your paper. What's the general objective of your thesis? What are your findings? What are your conclusions, recommendations based on the findings of your study? You should know that. You should know the theory, the sampling procedure, the instruments that you use, so that when you will be asked of a question, you know exactly how to answer your panelist. Number 2, prepare a well-organized PowerPoint presentation. So you have to be able to impress your panelists on your PowerPoint presentation. So what should be the content? So most of the time, these are the contents of the PPT in oral defense. Title, and then brief background about your paper, then your SOP or statement of the problem, then the summary of findings, so just copy and paste it there, the SOP question, the SOP, and then the answer, and then your conclusions, then your recommendations. Okay, so in here, in the presentation, during the presentation, make sure that you really have the confidence to share the findings of your study, that you really know a lot about your paper. Number 3, you should also anticipate possible questions. What do you think will be the possible questions that the panelists will be asking? For example, of course, most of the time, the process on how you did your study, and then they will also be asking you questions on the findings, and then your conclusions, and then questions on your recommendations. So usually, they'll just try to find out and assess if you were really the ones who did your paper. That's one. And then, if you really know your paper, of course, if you know your paper, if you did your own research, if you wrote your paper, then there will be no problem in answering the questions. Number 4, how are you supposed to answer? Answer directly what is asked. So if they asked you, for example, what is the score of the, for example, experimental group? What can you say about the experimental group compared with the control group? Then you just directly answer it in, for example, the performance of the two groups. If they wanted to ask that if you did experimental research, then you just directly answer that one. Or what are the difficulties that you encounter? Then you simply tell them what are the difficulties that you encountered. Or if they asked you, for example, what is the contribution that this study will be able to give in the academe? If you are a teacher, then you simply answer it, okay? Basically, all the questions that they will be asking you will be from your paper. So if you've read it and you did your own research, you wrote your own paper, then you will be able to answer the questions, definitely. Number 5, be honest in answering the questions. Do not give them answers which are not true. So you have to be very sincere in answering or giving the answer that you really think is what happened in your paper or the things that you really did. So have to be very honest. Because if you are going to tell lies in answering questions in the defense, your panelists will be able to find it out. So make sure to be honest in answering the questions. If you did not really do it, then admit it. Maybe you can just do it in the revision of your paper. Okay? If they have suggestions also, for example, something that you need to add, something that you need to revise, you just have to take down note of it. Okay? This one will really make your paper better and more scholarly and more academic. Number 6, stay calm and focus. So make sure to always be very positive and to stay calm and focused in answering the question. So you concentrate, you pay attention on the questions that they ask, and then you try to answer it the best way possible. Number 7, make sure to take note of the comments and suggestions of the panelists because you need them in revising your paper. Okay? So take it down. Or sometimes other researchers, what they do is they try to record. They ask permission and record the process of the oral defense. Okay? So that they will not be able to forget or miss anything during the oral defense. Because sometimes if you're very nervous, you'll not be able to take down note of everything. Although your advisor will be there to help you in writing the comments and suggestions of the panelists. Number 8, stay positive and pray. Do not entertain negative thoughts, okay, before the oral defense and during the oral defense. So you have to think that you can answer, that you will pass, you'll be able to do it since you worked hard for your paper. And of course, you should also pray. So stay positive and pray. Prayer works. Okay? If you pray, then you will be guided to be very confident and be able to answer the questions in your oral defense. Please take note of that. Stay positive and pray. Prayer works. Number 9, this is the last tip. Dress for success. It really helps. So make sure that you are at your best during your oral defense. That's why most of the time your advisor or your professor will really tell you to prepare for the oral defense by wearing a corporate attire because it also helps you to boost your confidence. Okay? So those are some of the tips that I can share in preparing for your oral defense. Tip number 1, make sure that you know your paper. You have to study it. Number 2, prepare a well-organized PowerPoint presentation. Number 3, anticipate possible questions. You should already be able to construct possible questions that the panelists will ask. Number 4, answer directly what is asked. Do not go around the bush. Do not give them answers which are not being asked of you. Do not share anything that's not being asked of you. Number 5, be honest in answering the questions. 6, stay calm and focused. 7, make sure to take note of the comments and suggestions of the panelists because this will help you and guide you in revising your paper. Number 8, stay positive and, of course, pray. Number 9, dress for success. So these are some of the tips that I can share on how to prepare for your oral defense. I hope that these tips will be able to help you in preparing for your oral defense. Again, this is Dr. Debbie Javier telling you to always be a blessing to others. Good luck in your oral defense. See you in my next video. Bye!